Okay, let's just jump right in. Have you ever had one of those series of coincidences, things that felt like way more than just pure chance?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling,
Right.
where something happens and the timing is just so specific, so weirdly relevant to what's going on inside your head.
Exactly. It's like the universe suddenly zooms in just on you for a second, makes you stop and think, wait, how could that possibly be random?
Right. Those subtle little connections, the meaningful bits we often just shrug off as, luck or something.
Yeah, luck. So for this deep dive, we're looking at sources that ask, well, what if those seemingly random moments aren't random at all? What if they're more like secret messages?
Guiding you, perhaps. That's the idea we're exploring today. Synchronicity.
Synchronicity, meaningful coincidences.
Precisely. We want to see if we can move past just noticing these things and actually use them. Use these everyday happenings to maybe unlock some deeper insights about your path.
Understand yourself and maybe these bigger patterns a bit better.
Exactly. It often starts with that feeling of serendipity, right? Those little clicks.
Yeah, that sense that things are connected even when they seem totally separate. When the everyday suddenly feels, I don't know, charged.
Charged is a good word. Serendipity feels like a happy accident, but this concept, it suggests something a bit more directed, maybe?
Like when something happening out there perfectly mirrors something you're wrestling with in here.
Yes. The sources give some great examples. Like, say you're deep in thought about a big career change, really anxious about it,
Okay.
and then bam, 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 over maybe 2 days, three totally different people, maybe someone on a podcast you listen to, a stranger you chat with, an old teacher you bump into, they all use the exact same kind of obscure phrase.
Wow.
And that phrase directly speaks to the solution for the very problem you were stuck on.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's definitely more than just thinking of someone and they text you. That's complex.
It's a different level of alignment, isn't it? Or imagine feeling lost, needing direction, and then a whole series of annoying delays.
Ugh, hate those.
Right. A flat tire, you miss your train, take a wrong turn. But those problems end up putting you in exactly the right place at the perfect time to stumble onto a huge opportunity you never would have found otherwise.
Ah, the surprising solution when you finally stop trying so hard.
Yes. You've been banging your head against a wall on some problem for weeks.
Been there.
And then you're doing something totally unrelated, like washing dishes or just walking, not thinking about it.
And amp up.
The answer just arrives, fully formed, maybe triggered by something tiny and external, like seeing a word on a sign or hearing a line in a movie.
So the big idea here from the sources is that these aren't just glitches in the matrix. They might actually be, well, guiding forces.
Reliable ones, even, offering some kind of external nod that your inner compass is pointing somewhere important.
Okay, so if our brains are pattern-finding machines, where did this idea of meaningful patterns really kick off? That sounds like Jung, right? Carl Jung.
You got it. If you trace it back, you land squarely with Carl Jung. He's the one who coined synchronicity back in the 1950s.
And he wasn't just talking about chance.
No, not at all. He called it a causal connecting principle. That's the key phrase.
A causal, meaning not cause and effect.
Exactly. It's the simultaneous happening of, say, a thought or feeling you're having, your inner world, and one or more events out in the external world. And these events seem like meaningful parallels to what's inside you, but one didn't cause the other.
So thinking about my friend doesn't make them text. It's more like both things happening around the same time points to a shared meaning.
Yes, the meaning is the bridge. But, Jung's idea, it sounds quite spiritual, maybe.
Right.
Mystical.
Definitely. How do the sources square that with, like, a modern scientific view? Do they just say, oh, that's nice wishful thinking?
Not really, no. They bring in the science, mostly looking at it through neurobiology. It offers a kind of complementary view, focusing on why our brains are so darn good at noticing these parallels in the first place.
Okay, so what's the brain science angle?
Well, it comes down to pattern recognition, obviously, but also something called perceptual filtering. Our brains take in a ton of information constantly, right? But we only consciously notice a tiny slice.
Right, filters.
And a key player here seems to be the reticular activating system, the RAS.
The RAS. Okay, tell me more. That sounds important for the science side.
It really is. Think of the RAS as like the brain's gatekeeper. It filters all the sensory stuff coming in. Now, when you're really focused on something, a goal, a worry, a big decision you need to make, something you're emotionally invested in, you're essentially telling your RAS, hey, this stuff matters.
You're programming the filter.
You got it. So the RAS becomes hyper alert, primed to notice anything in the environment, even tiny things that relate to your focus, and it filters out basically everything else.
So the sign might have been there all along, just part of the background noise.
Exactly.
But because you're internally tuned in, your RAS flags it, pulls it out of the noise, and suddenly it seems incredibly meaningful.
That's the neurological mechanism they propose. But what's interesting is the sources don't just leave it there. They try to bridge this brain science with that older, deeper idea. You know, the principle of interconnectedness you find in a lot of wisdom traditions.
The idea that everything's kind of linked anyway.
Right. So the synthesis they offer you, the listener, is pretty neat. Whether you lean towards Jung's view of a causal connections or the neurobiology of filtering, both perspectives suggest there's something really significant about aligning your inner world, your focus, your intention with what shows up externally.
That makes sense. It respects both the feeling of deep meaning and gives potential how it works in the brain. Okay, so if these things are potential guides and our brain is helping us spot them, how do we get better at actually noticing? How do we tune in deliberately instead of just stumbling upon them? Stop missing the nudges.
Good question. This is where we shift from the what and why to the how, from theory to practice. If you want to catch this flow of information, the sources say you need to cultivate a certain mindset, an open, observant one, specifically looking for the data your filters are highlighting.
Okay, and they give tools for that, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading about turning this into something practical, like a tracker.
Yes, exactly. A personal synchronicity tracker. It sounds simple, but the key is structured observation.
So not just scribbling down, saw 3 blue cars today.
Definitely not. It's more rigorous. The prompts are designed to capture more than just the event. You need the context.
Context,
like your internal state around the event. One really interesting technique is keeping what they call an emotional context log.
Emotional context log. Okay.
So right when a synchronicity happens or just after, you quickly note down, say, your main thoughts just before it, your dominant feeling, and maybe any specific question you are mulling over.
So you connect the outer event to the inner landscape at that moment.
Precisely. And another thing is tracking patterns over time. Recurrence. Logging specific symbols, themes, words, numbers. Anything that repeats.
Like a symbol frequency chart.
You could call it that. If you keep seeing, I don't know, owls or the number 11 or someone mentions Venice every time you think about quitting your job.
Okay, that symbol starts to take on a personal meaning for you in that context.
Exactly. But this tracking, it leads straight to a really important warning, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. The big one, confirmation bias.
How do you make sure you're not just seeing what you want to see, finding signs everywhere because you're looking so hard?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's easy to fall into that trap.
It is. Confirmation bias is basically cherry-picking reality to fit what you already believe or hope for. So distinguishing that from genuine synchronicity.
How? What do the sources suggest?
They suggest that true synchronicity often has a distinct feel to it. It's powerful, often unexpected. It carries an emotional resonance, a kind of a zing that confirmation bias usually lacks. And crucially, it often propels you forward, gives you clarity or energy in a way that feels genuinely helpful, not just self-affirming.
So maybe the element of surprise is a key differentiator. Confirmation bias feels kind of predictable, like finding evidence for what you already decided. Synchronicity often brings something new or confirms things in a really weird, unexpected way.
That's a great way to put it, the unexpected form. And being objective in your tracker helps too. Log everything relevant, even the almosts or the things that should have felt meaningful but just didn't.
Right. Analyze the quality of the connection later with a cool head. That trains you to spot the difference.
Exactly. Objectivity guards against wishful thinking.
Okay, so we're tracking, we're logging context, we're watching for bias. Now comes the really tricky part, interpretation. How do we actually figure out what these signs or symbols mean for us? Decode the message.
Yeah, decoding. This isn't like learning a universal code book, unfortunately. The sources stress that these symbols are deeply personal. Their meaning is tied directly to your life, your current challenges, your hopes.
So if I keep seeing, say, pictures of elephants everywhere, there's no single elephant meaning.
Not universally, no. You have to look at your own context. What does elephant bring up for you right now? Strength. Memory, burden. What were you thinking about when you saw the elephant picture? That's where the emotional context log comes back in.
Okay, so it's connecting the symbol to my immediate situation.
Mm.
Like the example you gave earlier, seeing a historical figure pop up repeatedly.
Right. If someone's biography keeps appearing, you don't just go, oh, interesting. You ask, okay, what quality of this person or what action they took is relevant to my current situation? What's the nudge here?
It sounds like intuition plays a massive role then.
Absolutely critical. Synchronicity often speaks the language of feeling, of resonance. You can analyze the data in your tracker all day long, but ultimately, you need to check in with your inner guidance. Does this interpretation feel right? Does it resonate deep down? That felt sense is key to knowing if you're on the right track with the meaning.
So it's a blend. The objective tracking outside and the subjective feeling inside.
The perfect blend. And when you start integrating both, that's when you see the real power. The sources talk about synchronicity acting like a compass.
A compass.
I like that metaphor. It's not telling you exactly which street to turn down.
Yeah,
Right? It's not
that.
controlling you. But when your inner intention is clear
Yeah.
and the external world seems to offer these confirmations, these alignments, it's like the needle swinging, verifying your direction and pointing towards your true path.
So it makes decision-making less about just pure logic or forcing things, more fluid,
Yeah.
incorporating trust and alignment.
Exactly. You start working with the current of life rather than feeling like you're constantly
Oh.
swimming against it.
You start to see the universe, or maybe just your own subconscious filtering reality, reflecting your inner state back to you, giving you feedback.
Yes. Encouragement, maybe a little nudge for course correction. It really fulfills that promise of learning to recognize those subtle hints toward growth, towards clarity.
Okay, wow. So let's try and wrap this up. Quick recap of this deep dive. We kicked off with Jung's idea, meaningful coincidences that aren't cause and effect.
Causal connections. Right.
Then we looked at the brain's role,
Yeah.
specifically the reticular activating system, the RAS, as a potential mechanism for filtering reality and making us notice these things.
The gatekeepers, yeah. Primed by our focus.
And crucially, we got practical, talking about the value of keeping that detailed synchronicity tracker, especially the emotional context log, to really understand patterns and maybe most importantly, watch out for confirmation bias.
Distinguishing the signal from the noise, essentially. Cultivating that radical awareness, being open to messages even when they show up in mundane clothes.
Understanding the dual nature, the psychological filtering, and the potential deeper meaning.
Both sides of the coin.
So if these alignments really can act as a compass guiding you, here's something for you, the listener, to take away and think about. Consider the, say, top 3 decisions or questions on your mind right now, big or small. In which of those areas has the outside world maybe already sent a signal or two in the last few weeks? A weird coincidence, a repeating theme. And now, using this idea of an observant mindset, how might you stay open to deciphering the next message related to that decision? What will you be looking for?